That concludes our overview. Now we're going to move on to dates and changes due to digital testing. We will start with what is changing. There are changes to accommodations coming because now it is a digital test. Students who currently have accommodations will see these changes starting with the PSAT given digitally on October 11th in Northside. Students with time and a half or 50% more time and double time, 100% more time, will test in one day instead of in two in previous years. Calculators are now allowed for all math sections. All timing break changes will be embedded in the online platform, including extended time, extra breaks, and breaks as needed. A screen reader will be used so that most students will no longer need a human reader or an MP3. Zoom will be available so students will no longer need large print or a magnification device. Color contrast settings will be available to students so that they will no longer need a colored overlay. Paper is now an accommodation that requires an SSD request. And students can no longer request not to use accommodations. In order to get ready for the digital test, we suggest that you create an NAR for all of your students at your school. There is a link on this slide for how to do so if you do not know how to do that. Once you have all of that information, look at all of the accommodations for your students. Are there accommodations that no longer need to be because of the digital test? For example, a 4-function calculator, a colored overlay, or an MP3 player? Are there accommodations that need to be reviewed because it is a digital test? For example, a human reader, a large print, or assistive technology. Are there accommodations that need to be added because it is digital? For example, a test on paper. Based on all of that information that you gathered above, is a Section 504 or ARD committee meeting needed? And based on those questions above and the meeting that you have, does a new request need to be made on SSD Online? There are 2 documents linked on this slide to help you with these questions. Using accommodations on the digital test is a link to the College Board website to help you through, and accommodations transfer to digital is a locally developed document to help you transition each specific accommodation to the digital test. In addition, contact your DTC for questions specific to tests or available accommodations, and contact your district Section 504 coordinator or your special ed area coordinator for questions about meetings or compliance. New this year, if students do not want to use their current approved accommodations, the accommodation will need to be removed in the SSD Online system so it can be linked to the student's digital test. Previously, a student would be able to bring a letter from a parent or guardian on test day if they did not want to use their accommodations. Due to the transition to digital testing, this is no longer available, and accommodations cannot be changed on test day. It is extremely important that accommodations requested for students are those needed due to a disability and also consistently used by the student in the classroom. The process of removing an accommodation takes time and will need to be completed 3 weeks in advance of the next test administration date. Once accommodation is removed, it can no longer be used on any College Board test. Use the provided click sheet to walk through the process of removing an accommodation. If additional accommodations need to be added, follow the steps provided by the College Board in the link titled Change Accommodations Online.